Working Hands Radio.
I'm just a hard-working man, taking it day by day, doing everything I can, trying to chase my blues away. You need to clear your head.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Working Hands Radio. And that was Ron Urose in the Vehicle from Erie, PA Band, bringing us into another week of Working Hands Radio. I think this is week 15. So my name's Phil Kerner, and I'm the Tool and Die Guy. And in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by my co-host tonight, Howie the Hammer Herman. It's Tuesday, June 19th, 2018. And let's make sure that music's done. There we go. So you're listening to the only show like it on planet Earth. If you work with your hands, if you build really cool things every day, well, then this is where you belong, because at Working Hands Radio, we speak your language, and that's the language of getting things done right, on time, and every time. So, a lot to talk about here, and in just a few moments, again, we'll open up the toll-free number for your calls, because without you, well, we really don't have a program. This isn't a podcast. This is a live program that features calls from around the country. We've got them to prove it, and we're looking forward to hearing from you guys tonight. Lots of freebies to give away tonight. And we're also going to talk a little later about owning your own shop. I used to own mine, and I can give you some tough love on that one. But one of the most exciting things I ever did. So before we get to that, let's do the roll call. You know the drill. Every week I ask, if you're tuning in tonight, please take a moment to just tell us where you're listening from, and we'd like to hear your name and where you're listening from. It's amazing from coast to coast to see who we're connecting to, and that's the purpose of the program, to bring all of us together in one place for at least an hour a week. So just your name and where you're from would be great. So a regular feature now in this program is every week I like to go through the news and find out what I call my top news story. And if you've been with me at all in the past, this is not a political show, but it is a little bit of a blue-collar perspective on things we observe and how we look at things. And when I say tonight's top story, I thought I should just change the name. What's America mad about this week? Because that seems to be that we're mad about something every day or every week. But I kind of follow the trends, right? So when I see the media kind of all freaking out and going in one direction, then it's time for me to dig in. And I have a way of online of making heads explode, but I think you guys will get where I'm going with this. I try to be the laser-guided bomb of truth with some of this stuff. So, of course, we're talking about tonight. Let me bring up a picture here. There we go. The picture that freaked out the world. And what do we have there? Well, that is a detention center. And that detention center is probably somewhere along the border, and it's got a bunch of kids in it. And those don't look like babies to me, but not to degrade that at all. But what we're hearing, of course, is these kids are separated from their parents, and everybody's going crazy. Well, I got a little information for you tonight. There's 12,000 kids down there at the border, detained, if you want to call it that, being taken care of by the United States government. Being fed.
Showered.
And Howie's jumping in here. But the reality is, here's a strange fact about that. There's 12,000 kids down there, but you know how many were separate? How many are there without their parents?
I have no idea.
10,000.
10,000 were there without their parents.
10,000 of them were brought there by traffickers or however they got there. So 2,000 of them have been apparently separated from their parents. Okay, that's still not great, but not all 12,000. 10,000 showed up at the border with no parents. So, I watched all the posers at this press conference at the White House yesterday, and I'm one of those guys that actually watches these things, so you don't have to. And they were all going crazy on this lady, and that was in the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Nielsen. So I guess the question is, you're going to go out and take your kids out for ice cream tonight. You throw them in the back seat, and on the way to get to the ice cream, you stop and rob a 7-Eleven. And the cops figure it out. Like, if I did that, I'd get caught because I'm not good at robbing things. And they pull me over, and they arrest me for robbing a 7-Eleven. I'm getting separated from my kids that night because I committed a crime.
Right.
And I guess what I think I'm missing here is if you break into the United States illegally, with your kids and you're an adult, it's a crime.
It is a crime.
It's a crime. It's sorry. And, I guess it's called tough love, and it sucks, but, that's just the way it kind of goes here. You're breaking the law. If I was going to go travel tomorrow, I don't break into Germany or Poland. I get a passport, okay? And I know we're trying to help these people, but, these kids are probably being taken care of better tonight than they have been at most points in their lives.
Yeah,
right?
They probably don't have to worry about having their parents murdered in front of them and their heads cut off, or the children's head cut off and buried in mass graves by drug cartels when they're, at this Walmart in San Antonio, Texas, being fed and showered and clothed and taking all their medical needs and inoculated.
And they're not there forever.
No, they're there temporarily.
Until they can figure out what's going on with their parents.
Right.
All right, so and then they're asking this lady at the press conference yesterday, how is this not child abuse? Well, who's the child abuser? The people that put their kids in a box truck and send them through Central America?
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Come on, we're the one that we're taking care of. I don't know where that story is, because those countries down there are in big trouble, and these people have no other lives for their kids, and they're paying traffickers to bring them here. Sorry, and we got to fix the problem.
And I'm pretty sure we have our neighbors to the north. I'm pretty sure they do the same things when people cross our border onto their border. They will separate you from your kids. And
so we're taking care of 12,000 kids at the border right now. Wouldn't it be nice to give that money to some kids in Detroit this summer?
That would be nice.
Or L.A.,
yeah,
Chicago?
Very nice. This same kind of stuff happened under the last administration and the administration before that. And the administration before that. The administration before that.
It's peaking now, though. It's a problem.
And
that's why it's showing
now
up.
The media is beating the hell out of it to try and make our current president look bad.
You think? All right, let's turn on the webcam. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you guys. And Howie, we got anybody checking in tonight?
Yeah, we have south of Houston. We have our neighbors right to the east of us, Buffalo, New York. A lot of people from Erie, Northern California. My daughter's online tonight listening.
No swearing tonight. My mother-in-law's listening.
Megan, maybe you'll learn something. Ray Grace he said everybody's mad that these kids are being treated humanely.
It's the best we can do with a bad situation. And unfortunately, a big basic civic lesson is Congress makes the laws, and they need to fix that law and do something about it.
Exactly.
We can take care of it. So, the phone lines are open. 870. Let's do the 800 part. We have an 800 number now. 800-870-1648. You're listening to Working Hands Radio. I'm Phil Kerner. This is Howie Herman. Again, this is week 15 of this broadcast. And again, if you're just joining in, if you want to do politics, we can do that. But it's really not set up that way. But every week I do kind of a lead story. And a lot of it will be current events. And sometimes it leads to politics. And I know that, people get sick of it. I get that. But if you want to do what I do, start your own radio show and talk about politics once in a while.
Yeah.
I just
there's a lot of them out there.
I just like to just touch on it, and I like to hear other guys' opinions. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe we're missing something.
Yeah, even if you guys don't, somebody out there doesn't agree, call us and let us know.
And we'll let you have it.
Yeah. We'll tell you how wrong you are.
We'll tell you how wrong you are. All right, so quickly, a lot of giveaways tonight. So we used to have a sponsor here, and I can get them back. I just haven't had the time to call them. The Utterly Smooth, and they do a nice job with the hand creams. And there's a small business in Ohio here, and they gave me some of these really nice hats. And they're really nice. So first caller tonight, and I can never put it on because my headset will, it just won't fit. But first caller tonight, 800-870-1648. You'll get yourself an Utterly Smooth ball cap. Wear this out, especially if you're single some night. Chick magnet right there. What do you think?
It is. That is.
It is. And Howie says so too. So it's just not just me. Howie says so.
Utterly Smooth, and it is, like colored like a cow. It's a chick magnet.
Well, it's interesting. That guy called me when I first started Working Hands Radio back in January, and he had actually heard the program on Facebook, and he jumped right on as a sponsor. And like I said, I just haven't been able to get back to him. He gave me a ton of lotion to hand out, and everybody I gave him to loves it.
Oh, this stuff works. I've used it.
Yep.
It works.
Yep. So, in fact, the last couple tubes I had left, I gave them to the Queen last night. But when I found the hats, and it's good stuff. So we'll get home. But I'll look them up. They got a nice company there. It's American owned. They pay for all their packaging here.
Where in Ohio are they?
You know, I knew you were going to say that.
Close to us, or
No, Salem, maybe. I think they said. I'd have to look it up.
that's Massachusetts.
No, I can't remember. Don't do that to me. I can't remember where they're at. So, anything else going on with the guys online?
A couple of people saying, yeah, fake news. We have Folsom, Louisiana. That's always nice. I like Louisiana. I need to get down there and go do some duck hunting one of these days. It's supposed to be one of the meccas. And I would love, if you got any duck hunting property down there, you could call and invite me down. That would be awesome.
There you go. There you go. And you could record it. We could put it on the program.
Exactly.
We got Grand Rapids, Michigan. Another one of my
Kids chiming in saying hi. If you guys listen, you guys might learn something tonight.
You never know. You never know, because we are here to educate. Might as well ask, since speaking of education, so you do, I remember when we worked together, you do like to hunt birds.
Yes, I love hunting birds.
And I can understand that. A little more challenging target there. So you go duck hunting. What's your weapon of choice?
I have a 12-gauge shotgun. I use an Remington 1100. That's what I used to use. Now I use a Stoeger 3000. The Stoeger is a relatively cheap shotgun, but under the conditions I hunt, some of these guys, they bring out $1,500, $2,000 shotguns, and I kill as many, if not more, birds with my $600 shotgun as they do with their shotgun that costs four times as many.
And you're not gonna die if something happens.
Yeah, if
to
it falls in the lake, I'll just go buy another one.
So how many shells does that hold?
It will hold 3 by law while you're hunting.
Okay.
But you can buy extension tubes for it, and I think up to 18. I think you could probably fit in there.
Do you do any duck hunting down here at the peninsula?
I do.
Do you?
I do,
Okay.
yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Erie, PA, I used to have a picture in here. Let me see if I can find it. I used to have a picture of Erie, Pennsylvania in here. Let me see here. There it is. That's Erie, Pennsylvania, and that area to the top left of the picture is that's our peninsula. It's Presque Isle State Park, and that whole area inside that's our bayfront, and big, beautiful natural bayfront. Well, in the fall, they line that whole peninsula with duck blinds, and if you live down that way in the morning, you can hear it echoing across the bay. Pretty cool. But Erie, PA is a big outdoors hunting type of town, and it's always fun to have. I grew up in a family of hunters and fishermen, but unfortunately my father died when I was very young, and then my uncles and everybody passed away again when I was very young. So I inherited all the weapons. You can see a few of them there.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
and we'll take a closer look at them one of these days.
We will, and but I just never got the hunting bug because
Right.
nobody was kind of taking me out to do it. So, all right. So again, 800-870-1648. What do you guys have on your mind tonight? It was interesting on the way out from work today. I was talking to Joe Z, and he was talking a little bit. He was training a new apprentice, and we're just talking about apprenticeships for a minute, and. I guess Mike Rowe was on CNN or Fox the other night and talking about apprenticeships versus college educations. And he said, all these parents told their kids to go to college for the last 20 years. And what do you got? What do you have now? And Joe got a new apprentice this week, and, he doesn't know anything. I mean, he doesn't barely know what a wrench is.
The new kid.
Yeah, he's a new kid. It's actually a neighbor friend that was looking for some work, and he said, I'll try it. And he's a good kid. Seems like a good kid, but nobody's doing the stuff. I mean, a couple weeks ago we talked about the cars. What an education it was back in the 70s, but I had to take care of my own cars.
Right.
Because we couldn't afford
a mechanic.
Mechanics.
Well, they don't even have shop classes anymore.
Yeah. Can't lose your trades, folks. That's why we're here. What do you think? So let's take a 2-minute break here for commercials. Now, what you want to do here is stick around, because we had a contest here a few weeks ago, and I think it was last week, where I asked you guys to send in pictures of your work area. I had posted a picture of my work area, and you guys did the same. So we'll see. I've tested this several times, and it should work just fine. But what I did is I rolled those into a montage. So when we come back, let's see if your toolbox made the cut. So you're listening to Working Hands Radio, and we'll be right back.
Hi folks, this is Phil Kerner for Working Hands Radio. Let's face it, the last 10 years or so has been one tough ride for American manufacturing. Well, this sponsor of Working Hands Radio has managed to not only get through the last 10 years, but just celebrated their 50th year in business in 2017. Folks, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have to tell you, I've never seen a shop that jumps through more hoops to keep their customers satisfied than Industrial Sales and Manufacturing right here in Erie, Pennsylvania. With over $30 million in equipment on the shop floor, no job is too simple, no job is too complex for ISM. CNC milling and turning, robotic welding, laser cutting, plasma burning, assembly, and powder coating are all done under one roof, which gives ISM a big edge over many companies that might have to subcontract many of those operations out and lose control of the process. Industrial Sales and Manufacturing deals with some of the most demanding customers in the world and strives for continuous improvement on a daily basis. Built in Erie, found around the world. Give them a shot. ISMErie.com.
Do you like building things? Are you new to manufacturing and don't even know where to start? Or maybe you just want to learn about machining and manufacturing as a hobby? I'm Phil Kerner, and I can tell you from experience that the best way to learn a trade is from an expert with a solid body of work under his or her belt to show you the way. During the past 40 years, I've served my apprenticeship, worked as a lead mold maker, ran my own tool and die shops, a plastic shop, and have also worked as a designer and a machinist. If you're hungry to learn the tips, tricks, and techniques in manufacturing that have taken me 5 decades to put together, I'd invite you to check out thetoolandieguy.com, where I just posted my 340th lesson on machining and manufacturing. Folks, this is real manufacturing. This is the stuff I do every day to be an asset to my company. And once you're an asset, it's tough for them to let you go. 43 years in the trade, 0 layoffs. Check it out. Special discount for the next 48 hours, thetoolandieguy.com.
Working Hands Radio.
So there you have it. Those are just some of the photos we got, and that was a lot of fun. I really love looking at these pictures and seeing these work areas. There's a nice-looking toolbox right there, nice-looking Kennedy there, great-looking surface plate. That's a lot of tools right there. Nice big injection mold, and look at that butcher block bench there. We talked about this one last week. I believe that's a homemade box. So it takes all types, but this is what we do here. We celebrate things like that, working with your hands. So, hey, listen, I know we got a comment here on Facebook, something about, the immigration thing, what's this have to do with tool and die? I mean, I get that once in a while. Politics and everything works together. And the argument could be made, and I don't care if it's Bush, Obama, Clinton, or whatever, none of those guys understood manufacturing. And I think when they think manufacturing, they think of GM, General Electric. Right. But those are anomalies. Caterpillar. I mean, those are giant companies. And they're good companies. I'm not putting those down. But those are the guys that left and took all that work offshore.
Right.
So all those shops around town that work for those companies, when GE and Whirlpool and all those companies couldn't keep up, that's when we started our shops, and there was always that work. So, that brings me back to so it does come to sometimes politics. And like I said, this isn't a show about politics, but it's all related. It does have something to do with tool and die. Absolutely has something to do with tool and die, because had people understood the manufacturing community 20 years ago, they would have never, or at least 15 years ago, they would have never let what happened happen. We're not paying any less for our stuff. The corporations are just making more. And I'm not an evil corporation type of guy. But again, we want it both ways in America, right? We want our 401k plans to produce the highest interest rate, which is fine. And to do that, we force these corporations to cut their costs as much as they can. So we basically force them into the Orient. If I read a couple weeks ago, and I'm sorry I don't have the source right now, but I could look it up. If you produce the iPhone...
I think we might have a call.
Oh, we got a caller? Yeah, we'll take a call right now.
Okay.
First caller gets a big prize tonight, too, the big one. Go ahead, caller. You're on Working Hands Radio.
Hey, Mr. Kerner, how are you?
Good. Who's
I used
this?
to work for you a long time ago.
Oh, no. Goes to the closet.
I don't think you remember me.
Who is it? First name. First name's
I was
fine.
going to college, and you gave me a job, and I used to clean the bathrooms over at the shop, and I used to do some deliveries. I'm not certain if you remember me.
I remember you. You were the most overqualified truck driver I ever had. You remember that?
Well, obviously, then you must remember me.
I do remember you. This is Jim.
This is Jim. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. So, we're going to talk about owning your own shop tonight, and I never like to, talk a lot about my experience. I will just from a practical point, but you were kind of there when we were doing pretty well back in the mid to, but 95, 97. So, describe, I was pretty busy back then. I was running a big shop, 45 guys. What do you remember about Kerner Tool and Die?
Well, I remember that, I was running all over this county, picking up tools and delivering tools and going to the different plastic shops. And, we had big tools and little tools. And that was back in the day when you guys probably used to make a couple of bucks running your business. And you didn't have to go, all the way rock bottom probably to make some profit. And, I sure did enjoy working there. It was a great experience, and you guys were well respected. I remember that.
Well, one of my favorite stories about Jim is we had a little bit of a deal. Jim was recently married, right? And he wanted to go back and finish his degree. He had never finished it, but he wanted to put a couple bucks on the table for his wife to show him he's that type of guy. Right? He's not going to go to college here. He wants to be that type of guy. He says, "Do you have anything for me?" I said, "You can drive my truck." Well, we had a deal. He'd say, "Listen, I have a class at 11 this morning," and he'd say, "I'll deliver this mold out to the molder. I'll have it there by 10:30. Would you mind if I parked the shop truck and took it to my class at Gannon?" I said, "I don't care." Well, I would get calls from people that say, "Why is your shop truck parked downtown today?" Because there's a big steg truck. Right. Oh, yeah. People would call. I'd say, "Because my truck driver's going to college, man. Don't they all do that?" So Jim worked for me for what, about a year or so, and finished his degree, and off he went to bigger and better things. But those were fun times, Jimmy. I really appreciate you calling tonight. I'm really glad you tuned into the program tonight.
Well, the one thing that I always remembered, too, was the fact that because I was the truck driver, on Wednesday afternoons, you and I would have the opportunity to go out and go golfing.
We would do that.
I remember the other guys in the shop looking at the truck driver thinking, who the heck's the truck driver? He's going out golfing with the boss. Because
we were the only two people in the whole shop that played golf.
Sure enough, we did, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
That's right. We did. You always let the boss win. That was very smart of you. Very, very good of you.
I certainly always did that.
Yes, you did. Well, thank you.
Anyways, I just wanted to call and say hello to you, and I've been enjoying listening to the show.
I appreciate that.
I hope to see you soon.
Oh, I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was a blast from the past. What if any of my other ex-employees or former employees will call in?
I'm sure you got some listening.
Again, as I always say, phone lines are open. I forgot. I think I know how to get a hold of Jim. But actually, Jim, I might as well tell everybody.
He won the...
He does get a hat, Jim. Yeah. So we'll hook up here. I've got this beautiful, utterly smooth cap for you. Okay, and this will look good on you on the golf course. Nobody will miss you. You'll be very visible. Unlike Howie, when he's hunting, he wants to be invisible. On the golf course, people will never miss you with this hat. So Jim knows how to get a hold of me, I think. So appreciate that call. That was a surprise. And so again, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about owning your own shop. Do you ever think about owning your own place, Howie?
I have actually thought about it, and I know people who have and who do and who currently do. And one of the biggest obstacles I would think now would be all of the regulation, all of the standards that you have to have the money to get yourself set up for your qualifications. I don't know why it's slipping my mind what you get audited every year at the shop.
Oh, ISO.
ISO, and
right,
and that's just the start,
right?
And I don't know,
and I don't think it matters with ISO if you're a 3-man shop or a 100-man shop. Right. I think they all pay pretty much the same.
Right. I would think that you that's a big detriment to starting a shop. Now I would think, and because I know guys, we were just talking about Kevin earlier. And I work with a guy now who, he's an engineer. Between the three of us, we could probably make anything, if we had the machine and we were allowed to, and we found somebody to buy it. Get a purchase order, we'll make it.
Well, I did put a thing on Facebook last night, a little promotional piece. And I said, hey, if you're a shop owner, I hope you're listening tonight. Call us. Tell us about how easy it is, how you only work 6 or 7 hours a day, go to the country club.
Go golfing
all the time. And then, of course, and you're making at least, $250 a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. So that's people think out there.
No
I don't
stress.
know. Everybody thinks that. Yeah, no stress. So I'd love to hear from my shop owners out there tonight because I've said this before in the program. We are pro-business here. So you'll never hear us throw business under the bus because you want to work for a guy that's making big money. Because if he's making money, he's going to stay in business. What kind of business did you guys think about starting? Or if you were going to start one, what would you do?
Making the one that we've talked about several different things. One would be making a better beer canner for all these craft breweries that are popping up everywhere. Doing something like in that field where you're supplying them with the machines that they use to can their beer in their... No,
in Erie, Pennsylvania, I don't know how a lot of towns are. We've got a lot of microbreweries springing up. I always thought they put their stuff in bottles. Do they do cans too?
Yeah, a lot of them cans. Yeah, a lot of cans.
That process is lacking, you think?
I think it could probably be done better.
Everything can always be done better. So, again, you're listening to Working Hands Radio, and let's get into a little bit about owning your own shop. And somebody did post tonight before we started the program. They said, I'm looking forward to that. They just started a shop. So this is my experience and, what I went through and some valuable lessons I learned. And they're all good lessons. Every lesson you learn is a good lesson. And when I look back, I definitely would have done some things differently. But that's the way it is. So first of all, I was 31 when I started my tool and die shop, and just me. And I would work after work. I had a full-time job as a tool maker, and I saved my money and bought a decal engraving machine, a 3D pantograph. But they actually could do some milling because back then the only way you could do 3D work was trace it out. There was no 3D CNC yet. So I saved my money, and I think I spent $7,500 for this decal. And somebody introduced me to a guy on 12th Street who would give me a corner of his shop. So every night I'd work till my 10-hour shift at the Tetra Tool Company, and I would grab a couple tools and I'd put them in my lunchbox and drive over 12th Street, which was luckily only a 10-minute drive, and I worked till about 7:30, and then we'd do that every night. And I found a company down in Meadville, about 45 minutes from here, that would give me these little forging dies, and I'd build those. Then I made enough money off of that. I bought a mill, then I bought a grinder, and then I was approached to go into a partnership with someone, and we started growing pretty quickly. I would tell you that there's a lot of things to think about to get into business now. Back then, you could compete with a $7,500 machine.
Okay.
Now you pretty much need a CNC machine.
Right.
And what are you going to buy? I know for the home hobbyists, they have the little tabletop guys, and you can. I can't remember, Tormax, I think they're called. Cool if you want to screw around your garage. But I don't know if you're really going to get a customer and make anything. You might, I'm saying. But, we always think about the Mazaks, the Haases, the Fidals.
Doosan.
It's something with a decent-sized bed on it. So, you don't have to spend $100,000, but probably something decent used that hasn't been, just killed is going to cost you probably $25,000. And then you got a pretty decent-sized piece of equipment, and where are you going to put it? You're probably going to have to rent a place.
Right.
Now, if you're lucky enough to get a small machine to put in your garage, you probably have to figure out, because you're not going to have three-phase electric.
Right.
So you got to buy a phase converter. So these are all little things, okay? But if you really want to own a business, because my feeling is if you're going to be in a manufacturing business, you better be making a lot of money at it, because it's too hard, too nerve-wracking to just break even on. You're just killing. You're better off keeping the job you have. Believe me, it's very tough, and here's why. First of all, no bank is going to touch you unless you have a lot of money already ready to invest, or they mortgage your house. Or any comments there? I see whenever you look.
The man with the very cool name that I wish I had, Sage Hawk.
Okay.
For those that have their own shop, do they lease or do they own their own buildings, facilities? Are the ISO requirements or ratings necessary for doing business in this industry?
Okay, it depends on what industry you're in. If you want to own a machine shop, it's probably you're going to want to be ISO certified pretty quickly, because machine shops, again, I have a theory on ISO, Howie, but you're more in the inspection business than I am. But my theory on ISO is this: the reason I'm ISO and you're ISO and Joe is ISO and Kevin's ISO is what General Electric sends out 4 parts, and if we all work to the same 4 standards,
right,
ISO, those 4 parts should assemble perfectly.
Right.
That's what I believe. That's an international standards organization.
But I've always wondered about that because I was never around before it. Does it really make everybody better? Because if I give you a print and I give me a print and I give Kevin a print and I give Joe a print,
if it's toleranced right, it shouldn't make a difference.
It shouldn't make a difference.
It shouldn't. I agree with you 100%. But that's the buzzword. That's the thing. The company I work for, industrial sales, they spend a lot of money.
I don't know that there's any companies that don't have that. I think all the customers.
If you're a machine shop, you're going to need it eventually if you want to deal with some big people. The tool and die shops that build injection molds, we were never ISO, because we build injection molds that, as long as the part comes out right, the plastic part,
right,
nobody cares what the mold looks like.
Right.
Whatever it takes to get the mold right. I mean, within reason. But nobody's going to inspect that mold. As long as the parts are right, there's no reason to inspect the mold.
Right.
Right? So that wasn't a consideration for me back then. So so that was I hope I answered that question. What was it again about ISO, and do you need it?
Yeah, are the ISO requirements necessary for doing business in this industry? So it depends on what you're doing.
In a machine shop, eventually you'll have to be ISO certified, or you're not going to get any work.
Right, and then he also he was wondering, probably, do people lease or do they own their own buildings? I would think probably most people lease at first.
Absolutely,
until they make a little money.
A quick story on that. Years ago, this is how serious apprenticeships were. The year was it was 1980, and I had already started my apprenticeship at a place in town, and I just didn't feel like I was going far enough. And I realized that everybody that I really admired at this place came from Anson Tools and Gauges. So I was the first person to ever leave this company and go back to Anson Tools.
Okay.
So I got an interview with them to apply for the apprenticeship program. Now I'm 19 or 20, right? So I get there, and of course I had a tie on, right? So I go into I sit in the lobby, and I had already taken a test to see if I was even worthy of their apprenticeship program. Pretty simple test. It was a 2-page test, but some basic math problems just to see if I had any mechanical competence whatsoever. So they let me in for this interview. Now I walked in for this interview. There was 7 people in this room, in a little room.
All interviewing you.
Yep. I'm pretty sure I can still remember. Roland Anderson was the president. Joe Leto, who just passed away, he was the vice president. Mr. Anderson's personal secretary, Kathy, was there. Then there was Bob Schuster, who was a foreman. Bob Westmeller was a foreman. And John Matz was the apprentice supervisor. And they were all there, and they grilled me. I was sweating. I was soaked when I left that room. Okay? I got hired. but it was amazing in that meeting. Here's how crazy I was back then. They said, Mr. Anderson was very quiet. And he looked at me and says, "What's your goal?" I said, "I want to own my own shop." And everybody couldn't believe I told this.
So you told them that. I want to be your competition.
Right. Well, a very funny story. Years later, I did offer to buy Anson Tools. That didn't work out. But anyways, I told him that. Well, Mr. Anderson would come by once in a while, and he'd just give me little bits of advice. And he says, make sure, he says, if you ever start that shop, he says, lease your building. He says, I was really fascinated with owning my own building. He says, I should have put that money in the equipment. That's what makes you the money. So there's some sage advice from 40 years ago. I'm sure it's still good advice. Put the money into the equipment. That's what makes you the money.
Here's another comment on Facebook. Brad Michael Poehler, I think his last name is. He said he tried looking into opening up his own EDM shop. Many shops around here, I'm not sure where you're from, outsource their wire and sinker work and pay a fortune for it. But being 26 years old with 3 kids and a house and bills, I could never take that chance financially with a clean conscience. Things didn't go, his family would suffer. I can understand that completely. I mean, I'm 43 now, but at one point in time I was 26, and you got to make sure your kids are taken care of. However, and don't take this the wrong way. Fortune favors the bold. If you never take that chance, you're never gonna make that money.
And there's a couple lessons there. I was 31 when I did this, and I already had 2 kids, and I think my third one was born right after I started. 3 out of my 4 were already around. So, but I had a lot of energy. I was 31.
Right.
I mean, if you couldn't pay me to open a shop now, oh my God, just the stress and the work,
or even manage one for somebody else.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, so back to the EDM guy here. Question. I appreciate how he just said about being bold. Can you look into maybe leasing an EDM? We talked about leasing a building. See what it costs to lease an EDM. It depends on what tolerances you're trying to hold on a wire. I mean, most people want their work wired out. I mean, it's probably pretty tight. But, some people get rid of wire machines after they can't hold a few millions. But if you're only trying to hold a couple thousands or thousands, you might find one. So just my opinion. You might don't ever let your dream die, especially if you see an opportunity.
I would think a wire EDM. I'm not sure what they cost. I don't really know.
They're pretty pricey, too.
Are they?
But they used to be. I don't know what's changed.
Well, like you said, I would think that would be easier to open up one and put in your garage than a
conventional sinker EDM. That's for sure.
Or a lathe or something like that, or a mill. You're not creating chips. You got you're
running water
or your oil or
they just
your electricity. And,
yep. That you could probably get a small wire in your garage.
And you could probably start out really small and do something.
So let me help them out there. So that's your first piece of advice. See if you can lease one. Number 2, see if you have some customers. That's the next thing. You're hearing that there's some work available out there, and that's always the catch-22. How do you call on people and introduce yourself without the word getting out you're trying to start your own shop and your boss finding out and firing you?
Right.
Very tricky. So, again, if you're pretty sure the work's available, then you have to be creative and figure out where it is and if they're looking for vendors. And you can do that. It's just, especially on the internet now, things are a lot easier now. There was no internet in 1991.
Yeah, reaching out to people is much easier.
So that's one way. So as I said earlier, no bank is going to pretty much touch you unless you're a homeowner with a lot of equity or have a rich uncle. Okay.
Right.
So now you have a couple choices. You can take a partner on, or you can maybe find a backer.
Right.
Okay. The problem is I think a lot of people think that a backer sees, machinery, it's big bucks business because it used to be.
Right.
And they're looking for this big return on their money, and, it's not really there anymore. They'd probably make more money in the stock market. Now, if they're looking for a safe place with maybe some equity with machinery and stuff, maybe not so bad, but you're a bit better off to have a rich aunt or uncle than the bank. The second option is to take a partner on. And, I should have looked this up, I got to be very careful. My partnership didn't work out. Let's just leave it at that. And it's one partner always thinks the other partner's not towing their fair share or whatever, and it's a shame that's the way it ended up. But I learned a lot of valuable lessons that I'll never forget. Let's put it that way. But the biggest secret's to running your own shop and owning your own business. I said it here already. One of my bullet points: do it when you're young. Absolutely. Because if you even screw this up with a couple kids right now, if you're only 26 or so, you got time to recover.
Right.
Don't go $1 million in debt. Maybe not 100,000 is even a lot. But if you lease the machine, you shouldn't be 100,000 in debt.
Right.
Get yourself an attorney, and that means you don't need a law firm. I don't know why everybody goes to law firms. The law firms are great when you're a big corporation and you got to deal with several different aspects of the law: environmental law, employee relations law, labor relations, all that. They can take you to a different lawyer. For just normal legal work, find a single guy. It's 1/10 the cost, and they'll do a lot of work for you for a little bit of money. And lawyers are never that cheap, but don't go to a law firm. No offense against law firms, but when you're starting out, you just need an attorney. So if you do, you need an attorney that understands manufacturing, and that goes back to your accountant. You need an accountant that understands manufacturing. Vital, because it's a little different. There's a lot of advantages to owning manufacturing equipment. Things like depreciation. There's really good advantages to owning a shop. So I don't want ever sound like I'm not recommending it. I'm just trying to give you some of the things to think about. So one of the biggest secrets, though, is with customers. This is a big one. First, you got to find one. Now, here's the deal. Let's say you own a shop, Howie, and you put out a lot of work. And here comes Phil. And say, hey, here's my brochure, and I have this EDM machine, and I do EDM work. And you say, hey, how much to wire this out? Well, I give you a quote. And you're ticked off because the guy who you usually use wants $1,000 to do this.
Right.
So you're going to teach him a lesson, and you're going to give me this one-time job, but you're going to let me in the door, but I got to do this for $200. Okay, I'll take the chance. I'll lose on this job to get in with Howie.
Right.
I'm never going to get any more work from Howie.
Right.
Because you just need to teach Joe a lesson that you can get its work done for $200. So that's the first thing.
I'm pretty sure I've been involved in seeing that happen before.
Well, it's terrible. But there's your first business lesson to avoid. First of all, you got to find a customer that will give you work. Number two, you've got to find a client that actually will let you make a profit on that work. That's the next thing. And finally, the third biggest one is the customer will actually pay you for your work. The machining industry and the tool and die industry is so labor intense, and the expense involved, if we're just talking about here with the machinery and wiring and equipment, it's just thousands and thousands of dollars. When somebody owes you $39,000 and they don't pay it on time, what do? Talk about having a relationship with your bank. They don't want to hear that. You can get in trouble so fast, and it doesn't. Sometimes I guess it almost sounds impossible. How do you do this? You pray. Because the bigger you might say, I'm in bed with GE. They're never going to go bankrupt. Really? Do you know that? Things happen.
Right.
I don't think GE, as it stands now, would ever stick you. But I'm just saying, things happen. Big companies close. I know for a fact right now one of our local plastic shops is very slow because they do a lot of work for Little Tykes Toys. Well, Little Tykes Toys is having a big problem because their biggest supplier was Toys R Us, their biggest vendor, who sold their biggest distributor.
Just closed.
Right. So they're scrambling to find people to take their stuff, and I'm sure it's got to go to Walmart, and Walmart's making them cut their prices even more.
Right.
So there's another thing. So, one other thing about customers, usually the more money they have, the cheaper they are. There's a reason they have all that money.
Right.
That's just the way it is. They might be the nicest guys outside the shop, but boy, once that key goes in the door in the morning, they're a different personality. One of the rules I always had was any business is 6 months away from bankruptcy. I have to say, I wrote on here, I've seen and done it all. Split up a partnership, started a new partnership, saw companies come and go. I met the president of Rubbermaid, who demanded a 20% discount on $500,000 of work he'd already given me.
After he'd already given you?
Yeah.
He demanded a 20% discount.
Yeah, well, because the president of Rubbermaid had promised his stockholders he was going to grow the company by 15% a year. There's two ways to do that. Buy more companies and beat the heck out of your vendors. So I understand why he could do that with the plastic shops, because that's an ongoing thing.
Right.
Another order, another order, another order. I'm a one-time deal here, and I also I got to lose work because I was the lowest bidder.
Right. What did you tell him?
No.
How'd that work out?
He was gone 6 months later. So
did he pay you?
Well, I got paid full price.
Right.
It was pretty tense. Most of the molders in Erie heard all the stories. You'd go up there. They'd give you an appointment. And they'd go up there and say, we really appreciate how well you do for us. And, we realize we give you $8 million worth of work here. And, we really need this, 15 or 20% concession here. And what do you have to think about that? What do you say about that? And they'd, oh my God, we're going to die. We're going to go to business. Okay, that's very good. Here's your paperwork. They make you sign it.
Right.
Or you were done.
Right.
I didn't have to deal with that, thank God, but because they couldn't come back to me for more. And let's see here. One other thing. Everything changes when you hire your first employee. You're out there by yourself, you're working along, and you can stay as late as you want, and then you hire somebody. Well, now you got to take care of their payroll taxes. You got to start worrying about their benefits and health insurance, little things like that. If you want to run a real business, I understand if you're doing part-time stuff, you pay guys under the table. And it's not supposed to do that, but people do it. But once your business starts to grow,
it reaches a point where you can't do that anymore.
And eventually reaches a point if you get big enough where you don't even, you don't do stuff with your hands anymore. You're kind of running the shop.
Right.
And that's kind of exciting, but I don't know. So it never ends. And, like I said, you better be making a lot of money or it might just not be worth it. So I don't know if I'm going wrong there, if my shop owners are here with me tonight, or if you're out there tonight and have a comment about owning a shop. I know you guys like to post a lot about this stuff on Facebook, how he kind of manages the social media. Anything new going on there after my long...
the one, Brad, he was the guy who was talking about, the wire EDM, and he said he might have to look into it. Brad, I'd encourage you. I mean, just be careful. Don't get in over your head and, just look into it. Research it, and if it looks like you might be able to do something with it, I would definitely encourage you. There's another, Cody Netzhammer. He said, what are your thoughts on having a small hobby shop at home to make reproduction parts for older cars, motorcycles, or even antique machinery?
The question about that would be, who's your client? How much are you willing to invest? Is there a market for that? If there is a market for that, how much can you handle? Are you working full-time now and you just want to come home and do another 12 hours worth of work because it's so lucrative? This is a hobby, so you're just going to kind of... People show up and say, I need a new door handle for my 63 Corvette, and you make them that, and you get paid $100, and that's good enough. Depends what you want to do, how much work do you want? And, I would think if you were pretty entrepreneurial, you could probably find some restoration work. I've always thought about myself getting a little duplicator.
Right.
But... Because if somebody breaks a door handle, as long as you have the two broken pieces, and I can super glue them back together, I can trace those out. I can make a new one. There'll be a little bump where the crack was, and we'll just sand that out. But again, I kind of do this all day.
One thing that I've thought about is with 3D printing, there has to be applications out there where somebody could make some money by yourself, a $10,000 3D printer. And
the trick with the 3D printer would probably be, I would think, would be a perfect marriage. Anybody, you can go out and buy a 3D printer.
Right, yeah, you can get them there. Yeah.
But neither one of us know what to do with one, how to program it.
Right.
So what you're looking for is a guy who's really good with SolidWorks or Pro Engineer.
Right.
I would think. So if you were a really expert at modeling concepts up, one of those type of guys, that would be an excellent business opportunity, I would think, to go out and find, go to companies and say, listen, I do these prototypes, and here's how big I can go. So if your part's really big, we'll have to do it 2-to-1, but I'll model it up for you and give you I can give you a thing in your hands in 3 days,
right,
for you to look at. Man, it's this much money. Then again, I don't know how much all that costs, but there's an opportunity also. You're right. That's a nice way to take care what do I want to call it? Grab an emerging technology and maybe do something with it.
If there's somebody out there that's really good at that kind of stuff,
I just don't know.
The wave of the future.
I just don't know if there's any money to be made anymore with a Bridgeport and a grinder in your garage. There used to be.
Right.
There used to be. I'm not saying there isn't, but I don't know that. Not a lot of money.
I would think it would be hard.
I mean, when you just look at the way a CNC machine just positions itself.
Right.
You got two stupid holes to drill 12 inches apart or 24 inches apart. Well, you're still cranking. These holes have been drilled, reaming the parts off the machine.
It's
the positioning is phenomenal.
Right.
600-800 inches a minute. So, anything else?
Let me look here. Justin Meinhardt, he commented on ISO. This is Justin's opinion. I'll read it. He said, the truth about ISO is this. ISO certification does not directly imply quality products. ISO certification is simply validation in claims. It essentially provides some degree of trust in a company's claims. All ISO really validates is that you do what you say you do, which is pretty true.
I would agree with that statement.
That's true. It does not mean your products are high quality. For true quality standards, look for ASME, SAR, AWS certifications, etc.
But you can back up what you say you do, though, with ISO, because everything there's a paper trail.
Documented.
There's a paper trail.
We did this. Yes, we checked this. Yes, we used this kind of material. That's more of, I think, what he's saying. Yeah, and that's true too. I mean, just because you're certified just because you're AWS certified doesn't mean you're making quality products either.
And again, back to this subject that we're on tonight, starting your own shop, owning your own tool and die shop, your own machine shop. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the reasons we're here tonight for Working Hands Radio is to talk about it, to hear about what you guys think. Because it used to be such a backbone of the country. You find a client, and everything I talked about on that list about owning a shop, and I'm sorry if it came out a negative, but it's not. It's just the truth. Right. I wish somebody had told me some of those things 30 years ago. I would have maybe put some ideas in my right. Get a good attorney. Get a good accountant. Right from the bat, somebody who's fighting for you.
Right.
Those things really matter. But the only thing that makes everything work is that one good customer. Just that one. If you just get one that likes you and trusts you, and you do a good job for them, and you take good care of them, and hope they don't go out of business because they got bought out or they made a mistake. Business is always risky, and no more than the tool and die and machining industry because of the amount of capital. I mean, just buying the steel, just the inventory, can cost thousands of dollars just to build a product. So there's that. So anything I see you're reading there, anything else?
Yeah, Arizona Jack chimed in. Hi, Jack. Welcome home.
Arizona Jack.
Brad Michael also commented, another big hurdle for owning an EDM shop or machine shop is CAD software. Mitsubishi machines have machine-based software called 2D CAM, but it is limited to see how much you can see and how confident you are in your program due to two-dimensional lines being your only savior. 3D and taper programs are easily done, but it isn't like eSpirit where you import a 3D model and see exactly what the wire or electrode is doing. And you know what? Also, CAD software is not cheap either.
3D CAD, right?
Yeah, I would think most of the stuff that you are going to be doing on your own right at first, you're not going to be designing anyway.
Right.
So,
I know that pretty much anything that does 3D modeling is about 18 to 20,000.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. And then they hit you with the maintenance costs.
Yeah,
which might be $1,500 a year.
Here's your update next year for,
and if you don't pay for it, you have no more support.
Right, and then it stops working the year after that.
All right, so we already ran 2 commercial breaks tonight, right? I think we did.
I think we might have.
Okay, that's fine. So we're kind of caught up with the social media thing. Again, I appreciate everybody that's online tonight, but as I always say, the biggest thing that makes this program works is the phone calls. And humor me. I need one more. And, we've had some great calls here. But I love hearing the calls where you guys are from. That's why we're here, to do this live broadcast, because we put a lot of effort into making sure we have a phone line open, and it's a lot harder than you think to wire this all in, to get this 800 number together. So, again, this was always my goal, was to put this radio program together, live radio, to hear from you guys. And if Howie is actually going to be missing next week, and I'll have to find a substitute, I think Howie's going on strike. No matter what I pay him, it's just never enough.
I'm going to be in Buffalo. The company I'm now working for is actually sending me to Buffalo to do CMM programming, and we actually just hired a CMM programmer, and I'm really glad they hired the kid. He's younger. He's 25. He has an engineering degree from Edinburgh, I believe, an industrial engineering degree. And just talking to the guy today, Monday and Tuesday, really smart guy, and I'm looking forward to working with him.
Well, I think somebody heard my pleas, so let's take a phone call. Ready? Hi, this is Working Hands Radio. Go ahead, you're on the air.
How's it going? This is Brad. I've been commenting a little bit about the EDM stuff.
Okay, Brad, how you doing tonight?
Instead of just posting online, I'd call in.
Appreciate it.
Very nice, thank you.
What's going on?
How's it going?
Good. So what's your deal with the EDM? You had a lot to say there. Was that the big one?
That was a long one.
So are you an EDM guy?
I am. Yep, I do wire EDM and sinker EDM.
Okay. And do you use a lot of software to get your programs ready to go? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I run MITS machines, so I use their 2D cam, as I said earlier, but I use a lot of our master cam and Eastbury to kind of see what I'm doing. Because a lot of the parts that I make are very small and very intricate. Like a lot of times it's anywhere from 5 to 10 setups. So it would be really hard for me to make some of these parts for a company without actually having the software to really see what I'm doing.
What kind of tolerances are you holding on some of these parts?
Microns.
Microns, yeah.
Wow.
There's pretty much no tolerance. Yeah, I work for a German company. We do a lot of super, super high tolerance work. And I guess maybe
are these molds and
different than a lot of the other ones?
Are these molds and dies?
The company that I'm working at now, I could say for a fact there's no possible way that I could confidently make my parts without actually having a full out 3D software like Eastbury or Mastercam or.
Okay, now are these molds and dies, or what kind of parts are these? If you can tell us.
They're molds and dies.
Okay.
They're complex, like electrical car parts. I don't know if you guys heard about the whole Volkswagen emission scandal.
Yeah, I remember that.
We've heard a lot about it.
Yep, we make one of the main parts that was involved in that whole scandal for Volkswagen, and we got hit by that whole scandal pretty hard, and we lost that whole job. But pretty much all the parts that we make are parts for Mercedes, Lexus, BMW, all the electrical parts. So, we have parts that are formed in a die, a stamper, and then these terminals and these electrical contacts and sensors then get molded into a molded part.
Now, I think you've called before. You're a young guy, aren't you?
Yep, I have. I'm 26. I called, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Now, did you go through a formal apprenticeship?
Yep, I did. I went to be a die maker. I'm actually a die maker by trade, but I've kind of in the past couple jobs kind of transitioned into kind of EDM work now.
All right, so this guy that was chatting away on Facebook, we were talking about him earlier, thinking about starting his own place. You got your hands in this a little bit. He could probably fit a little wire EDM in his garage, right? You don't need a real big one, right?
Yep.
What are we going
to? That's kind of what I've been thinking. I mean, I've been thinking about doing this for probably the past year or so. But the more that I see how much things cost, and my wife and my house at stake, it's just a big risk to take.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think before. I mean, I maybe not. As I've gotten older, I've become more cautious with the things I do and sometimes the things I say. But yeah, you definitely. I mean, you got your kids and your wife. You definitely have to make sure they're taken care of. But I'm just wondering if there was, if you could actually find that the work that you know that you can get that work, and then go lease a machine. And
I mean, you've got a really nice, for a 26-year-old. You've got a nice pedigree there. I mean, with the stuff you talk about is pretty cool for a 26-year-old. I'll tell you.
Yep. Like I said, and I'm so tempted by it, and kind of listening to your podcast tonight, it makes me want to go out after work the next couple of weeks and go to the few shops around here. Because before I actually started doing wire and sinker at my shop, they didn't have a wire or a sinker machine there. They outsourced it. Well, one of my first, probably about 6 months there, they actually bought one because they knew that I had ran that at my previous job. And they were paying somebody $200, $250 for these little punches that I was cranking out in 45 minutes there.
Yep.
So it's like if you for years were paying some Joe Schmo in his garage $200, $250 to make something that I did in 45 minutes, it kind of makes me think, why am I working for you when I could work for myself?
Well, and there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for having a beautiful job like you have, but there's also a lot to be said for maybe a little part-time work is in your future. You're young enough to work a couple extra hours, so please keep us posted. We're always encourage people to do fun things, and I'm glad we put a little bug in your ear tonight about your.
Yeah, I kind of did.
Okay.
Kind of what I think Howie said. The fortune favors the bold, and
Howie's got a lot of
There's a
quotes
whole
like
lot of
that.
Yeah, I'm
companies.
full
So
of-
maybe, the next few weeks I'll kind of venture around to the other shops and ask them if maybe, if they'd be interested in somebody down the street doing some of their work for them and see what goes from there.
Well, first of all, be careful. Don't lose your job over it. Don't.
Oh, definitely, no.
Okay, and please keep us in the loop. I'd love to hear from you again and see what you decided, okay?
Another thing to think about is if you can program it, you can always get the wife and kids to run it. I mean, it doesn't take much to load a part on a fixture and make sure that its run out's good and just run it. You program it for them,
Yep,
let the wife and
exactly.
kids run it.
There you go. Get those kids
Yep.
involved. Child labor. We're all about it.
Yep.
We started off with the kids at the border.
That's why we're collecting them at the border right now. We're going to put all of them to work.
Got all of them to work. There you go. Well, thank you for calling in.
Exactly.
I appreciate the call.
No problem.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
You guys posted on Tuesday nights. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. That's awesome. Love it.
Very good.
All right. Last time what happened, I ran over, which is fine. The phone wouldn't stop ringing. So if anybody's got any last chiming words to add in tonight, some words of wisdom to talk about tonight, we're going to be here for just a few more minutes.
Arizona Jack said he'll call in next week.
Okay, we love Arizona Jack.
I won't be here for it, but go ahead and call in anyway, Jack.
All right. Let's see here. Let's just take a 30-second break, get some water, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
All right, little Vince Guaraldi to end our night with, and that's a great story there. You guys, I think if you've listened to this program before, big Vince Guaraldi fan. Didn't discover him till later in life. I heard one of his tracks one time. I said, "Why does that music sound so familiar?" And it was from Charlie Brown. It's all the Peanuts music.
Right on.
And once I became a fan and realized all the great stuff he had recorded, it was a lot of fun. So, listen, we're going to recap up now. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and. Again, I know at the beginning of the program I always just mention something on current events or today's top news story, or as I'm going to rename it, "What's America Freaking Out About This Week?" But we'll always do that just to get this conversation started. Thanks for the calls tonight. Maybe we have a new business guy starting out tonight. Jimmy called in tonight, one of my former employees, and that was awesome. But just don't forget, we're here to tell your stories, not Phil Kerner's stories, not Howie's stories. Howie's got good stories. He didn't get lost this week, which is awesome. Awesome. Good job getting here. You're on time. It was really good.
No walking around in
Very
the forest.
impressive. Very impressive. He didn't go for a walk in the forest. That's why he didn't get lost. I did mention my shop tonight. For you guys out there that would like to take a look at my old shop, Kerner Tool and Die, just go to the Tool and Die Guy site, toolandieguy.com. There's two galleries there, and there's one called KTD1. That was the original Kerner Tool and Die back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then the one I started in 1991. I took a lot of time and put a lot of pictures up there, and we like pictures. Pictures are fun. And most of them I put a caption under it, too, to explain what I think was going on there. So to see more about, learn more about Working Hands Radio, I should say, you can go again to the toolandieguy.com and just click on the button that says Working Hands Radio. And all the previous programs are there in video form, and they're also there in audio only that you can download. So you can take Howie and Phil with you wherever you go. And I know that's a big thing with most people. I think that's they want
Making sure that we're with them
all the time.
It should be.
I want to thank, just to take a minute tonight, I always want to thank ISM for supporting Working Hands Radio. I really do appreciate that. If you'd like your unique message, you own a small business and you'd like to get this out, your message out, we're pretty reasonably priced here. If you'd like to be a sponsor for a 10-week section of the program, please email me, workinghandsradio@gmail.com. We'll get you on board. We'll record a commercial for you. You could be a guest on the program. We're good to our sponsors. So we produce this program, as I always say, by ourselves for the love of working with your hands, because building stuff with your hands is cool, man. So, again, I'm the Tool and Die Guy. If you go there, if anybody needs some lessons, There's over 300 of them there. What I teach is what I call real-time manufacturing. We don't deal a lot in theories. We get right to it, in and out, because anybody can do anything if you give them way too long to do it, right? So we will be right here next week. And again, thank you for tuning in tonight. Howie, thanks for joining me. We will miss you next week.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I'll listen in Buffalo.
Excellent. The beautiful city of Buffalo. So, again, a man who works with his hands is a laborer. A man who works with his hands and his brain is a craftsman. But a man who works with his hands and his brain and his heart is an artist. And, you know, that's who we do the program for, the artists out there, you smart guys out there and gals. So until next week, keep the faith. I'm Phil Kerner, and this is Working Hands Radio.
Good night.